All right, guys, we will be talking about commas, specifically rule number 3. We already talked about rule number 1, which was a list of items, and then rule number 2, which was a list of adverbs or adjectives. But now we're going to talk about specifically compound verbs and compound sentences. So let's take a look. First and foremost, we have to remember our conjunctions. We talked about this earlier in the year, and we remembered them by using the word fanboys. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Those are our conjunction words. Those are the words that help us put two sentences together to make one big sentence. So when are we supposed to use a comma exactly? So when we use a comma, we have to, in this case, use one of our conjunction words. So for this sentence, in red, I use the conjunction word but. So let's read the sentence. It says, I really like chocolate, but Nancy loves ice cream. I have my conjunction word, which is but, and my comma goes in front of my conjunction. That's really important, guys, to know that the comma goes before the conjunction. Okay, so let's take a look at how we can write sentences using our conjunctions. So first and foremost, there are two ways. You can write it as a compound sentence or using it as a compound verb. We're first going to look at using it as a compound sentence. So as we know and as we talked about before, a compound sentence is basically two sentences in one. But each part of the sentence has its own subject, its own different subject. So, for example, this sentence says, Bradley cleaned the chalkboards, and I straightened the desks. So if we were to take that sentence and split it in half, if we were to take away that and, the first sentence would read, Bradley cleaned the chalkboards. Then the next sentence would read, I straightened all the desks. Both of those sentences have different subjects and different verbs. But we use the conjunction and with the comma to make that sentence longer. Okay, notice I bolded it red, the subject red, and the verbs green, so you could see how there are two different subjects and each of those subjects have their own verb. So that's really important to know when we're talking about compound sentences. Next are compound verbs. So this is just one sentence that shares the same subject. So say, example, that subject is doing multiple things. So the sentence that I wrote, it says, Jacob cleaned the kitchen and straightened up the living room. So if you see, there's only one red, okay? There's only Jacob, and he cleaned and straightened up. Now, it's really important, I put a little note at the bottom, that when a verb shares the same subject, so for compound verbs, Jacob cleaned and straightened, there is no comma. I know it's going to get confusing, but I believe in you guys, okay? So, if there's a compound sentence that has two subjects, two different verbs, they get a comma. But if it is only one subject and that subject is doing more than one thing, it does not get a comma. See, there's no comma here. So here are a few examples that can help us. So the first sentence, it reads, Saul looked for the lost donkeys, but could not find them. So what I did was I marked my subject red, just like we do in class. Red is our subject, our noun. And our noun in this subject is Saul. And what did Saul do? He looked for the donkeys, but he couldn't find them. So Saul is doing two different things. He was looking, and then he could not find. So since there's only one subject, remember, one subject is a compound, and he's doing two different things. It's a compound verb. And notice, there is no comma here. There's no comma before our conjunction word but. So number one would be a compound verb because there's one subject and that subject is doing two things. Now our second example is a compound subject and you'll see why. The sentence reads, Earth has only one moon, but Saturn has at least 18. So I noticed, one, that there are two different subjects in this sentence, Earth and Saturn. And I marked them red just like we do in class so I can identify them. So, and now, let's say for example, if I were to take out this but and comma, the first sentence would read, Earth has only one moon, period. My next sentence would read, Saturn has at least 18. But now we are adding both of those sentences together to make one big long sentence, excuse me, with the conjunction and the comma. So, Earth what? Has. Okay, so Earth's verb is has. And then we're going to look a little bit further down the sentence after our conjunction and we're going to look at Saturn. Saturn also has. So part of the sentences have two different subjects and two different verbs. So that is a compound sentence. Okay, so make sure you're paying attention when you're doing your work that you can find the difference between a compound verb and a compound sentence. Okay? All right, that is all, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.